To the Patriots Pulse Preview Show. I'm your host, John Sirenitas, and as always, I'm joined by my partner, John Sapichetti. John, we're coming to our followers a little early on a Sunday morning. Of course, Patriots are playing tomorrow night on Monday Night Football, but before we get into the conversation, how are you this morning?
Doing okay. Over the Thanksgiving holiday, the pies have been thrown out, so I can't add any more weight, which is a good thing.
That is a good thing. One thing I will say about Thanksgiving, it's my favorite holiday. I love it. It's the last great American holiday, in my opinion, along with the 4th of July. But for me, I'm with you. I think it has to be one and done. I can't continue to eat Thanksgiving food 2 and 3 days after. It's just too much. I think it's too heavy. I think it bogs you down. I'm with you. I'm good. I'm done with putting weight on this weekend, and I want to move forward now. Of course, we are unfortunately stuck with the worst of all the holidays, and that's Christmas. That's coming up, and Christmas sucks. It's annoying, but it is what it is. People can be fake happy and put up the lights and all this other shit, and then they can return to their misery after the new year. But nonetheless, I digress.
It's great to see you're so positive this morning, John. It's great. It's awesome.
Oh, no, Christmas brings out the worst in me, man. I am not a fan. I say it all the time. I'm not a fan. I think it's the most disingenuous holiday we celebrate. It's awful. Nonetheless, let's talk some football. I mean, I could go on and on for hours, talking about my disdain for Christmas, but I'm going to keep it to myself. People aren't tuning in to hear me bitch and moan about Christmas. What they are tuning in to, hopefully, is to hear you and I preview this game tomorrow night between the Patriots and the Giants. And we are coming to you earlier than we normally would because we do want people to join the conversation and share their thoughts with us in regards to the game. Now, obviously, look, on paper, this is a game the Patriots should win. Giants coming in with a 2-10 record. They fired Brian Daboll 3 weeks ago. Mike Kafka, interim head coach. Jackson Dart has been out, but he is coming back tomorrow night. He is going to play for them. On paper, this is a game, even with the injuries that they suffered last week, John, that the Patriots should win. Now, you're not as optimistic about this one as I am. I don't buy this Giants team. I think they're poorly constructed. I'm not sure if Dart is a long-term answer quarterback. My initial impression is I don't think he is. I think that they've wasted a lot of money on the defensive line, kind of like the Bengals at receiver. I don't see any chance that they come in here and win tomorrow night, but you have a different opinion on that.
I surely think there's a chance they win this game on Monday night, and there's a few reasons why. Obviously, the Patriots are 10-2, the Giants are 2-10. But when you look at the Giants in 2025, half of their losses have come despite having double-digit leads in the fourth quarter, including they blew a 19-point lead in Denver 6 weeks ago with 7.5 minutes left in the game. Think about that. What's the chance of losing a 19-point lead in 7.5 minutes? It's minuscule. Well, they've managed to do that. And you would think the Giants team is built to protect leads. They spent a lot of money on that defensive line. Now, Brian Burns has been outstanding. He's second behind Myles Garrett in sacks. The other three defensive linemen or edge rushers or whatever you want to call them have underperformed incredibly. Dexter Lawrence signed a big contract. Quite frankly, he has sucked. He's obviously an interior lineman who does a lot of things. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to sack the quarterback a lot, but he could clog the running game. He hasn't done that. Kayvon Thibodeau was a top 5 pick a few years ago, has 2.5 sacks. Another guy who looks like Myles Garrett and plays like Miles Teller. Now, Abdul Carter was the one guy coming out of this draft in 2025 where we thought was going to be the safe pick. He's going to be maybe not Micah Parsons, but a reasonable facsimile of. He has a half a sack, and he looks lost out there at times. So their defensive line has underperformed, I think, more than any unit in all of football. But that being said, with the injuries the Patriots have along the offensive line, your whole left side of the offensive line is out tomorrow night. I think the Giants could win that battle, Giants defensive line against Patriots offensive line.
Yeah, I'm not so bullish on this Giants team. I think they've mailed it in. I think Kafka is auditioning for the job, but they're not going to hire him. He's going to end up somewhere else next year. I think you bring up a great point about their defensive line underachieving. Coming into this season, though, I thought they were overrated, overhyped. Carter's been a disappointment, and I'm going to eat the crab sandwich on him. I thought he was as surefire a prospect as we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. He has not lived up to that. Quite frankly, I think Shane Bowen, their former defensive coordinator, they've since made a change at defensive coordinator. Bowen was fired last week. But quite frankly, I think a big part of the problem was the way that Bowen was using him. You mentioned Micah Parsons. There were a lot of comparisons there, similar type of build, similar type of player. Both of them, of course, played at Penn State, wore the number 11. But when you look at Abdul Carter, in my view, he got off to a bad start, really didn't get acclimated to this defense. They didn't use him right. You got to play him on ball, off ball. You got to move him around. He's a Swiss Army knife. They haven't really done that with him this year. So I think that's been a big part of the problem. And the other part of the problem, to be honest with you, is he looks overmatched physically. He has not been as good as we thought he was going to be physically. And again, I think a lot of people felt he would be a poor man's Micah Parsons. He has not been that, not even remotely close. You mentioned he only has a half a sack. Dexter Lawrence, I thought that was an overpay when they extended him. You don't give that kind of money to interior defensive linemen, not unless they're producing as pass rushers. He wasn't producing. He had one really good year, and he capitalized on that financially. But outside of that, he's done nothing. Kayvon Thibodeau, to me, he's just flat out a bum. He's just flat out a bum. He was a terrific player at Oregon. He came in, top 5 pick, as you mentioned, hasn't lived up to that pick, hasn't lived up to the billing. A big reason for it, a lot of his flaws that you saw at Oregon have kind of come through in the NFL. Struggles to stack blocks against the run, doesn't get off of blocks as a run defender. His pass rush game, which was his strength coming out of Oregon, hasn't been there because for whatever reason, he's just not as explosive in the NFL as he was in college. You thought that part of his game could potentially translate. We haven't seen that from him. So, yeah, their defensive line looks great on paper, but outside of Brian Burns, they're not playing well. But I keep coming back to this theme of poorly constructed rosters. And it's great that Joe Shane put all this money into this defensive line, but they're very average at linebacker, and they're extremely average in the secondary. That's one of the worst secondaries in the league, both statistically and on paper. And then when you look at him on offense, look, Jackson Dart looks like he could potentially be a franchise quarterback. I would pump the brakes, though, if I were Giants fans. I'm not sure he is. He looks the part. He looks like Sunshine from Remember the Titans, and he's athletic and he's got plus arm talent. But I'm not sure he's the guy. I think that it's way too soon to say whether or not he is or he isn't. And I think the other thing with this team is offensively, once Malik Neighbors got hurt, they don't really have anybody that's going to challenge this Patriots secondary on the perimeter. So, yes, you seem to be confident in your opinion that they could come in here tomorrow night and win. But my question to you is, my friend, I don't – how? This team is depleted. Jackson's coming off injury. They don't really run the football well enough. I wouldn't marry myself too much to what they did earlier this season blowing those leads. I don't think they're the same team.
Just last week, they had a 10-point fourth-quarter lead against the Detroit Lions, who every week look worse and worse and worse. But they ended up losing that game in overtime. They're always in the game, which kind of is interesting that they're built to protect the lead and they can't do it. They're also running the ball more than any team in football, which is odd for a team that's 2-10. Normally, you'd see that team would throw more than run more. You're chasing points, but they're not always chasing points. I also think that the Giants' offensive line is pretty good. Not great, pretty good. And I think it might win the battle against the Patriots because you don't have Milton Williams there. We talked before the Cincinnati game and after the Cincinnati game, and the question was, how much are they going to miss Milton Williams? They missed him a lot. The Bengals ran the ball effectively against the Patriots. Now, the Bengals have been running the ball better the last month. They ran the ball effectively against the Patriots. If the Giants are able to run the football, and they sure as hell will try to, they might win that battle as well. I'm just looking at it, if you lose both lines of scrimmage, there's a chance of an upset in this game. I just wanted to bring up one other thing, too. We were talking about Abdul Carter and go back to last year's draft. We all wanted the Patriots to have the first overall pick. They weren't going to take Cam Ward. Were they going to take Abdul Carter? Who were they going to take? They ended up with Will Campbell, which ends up being a really good pick. Solid left tackle. He should be there for the next 10 years at a key position. The year before, you wanted the Patriots to win the first overall pick. I don't know if they would have taken Caleb Williams or Jaden Williams or Drake May. They got Drake May with the third overall pick. That looks like the best pick of that draft, too. Sometimes let the other teams make the decisions, let the other teams make the mistake, and who's there left to you ends up being the better player. The Patriots have been fortunate the last 2 years with Drake May and Will Campbell, who may turn out to be the best player in their respective drafts where they were drafted. So that's just something I wanted to put out there that, Abdul Carter has been that much of a disappointment. But I do think that the Giants can win the battle along the lines of scrimmage. look, John, the Patriots are on fumes right now. They're coming up to their bye week next week. Week 14 is the bye week, which is ludicrous. It should never be that late. We've discussed that before. The league has to figure out a way to get these bye weeks more condensed into the middle of the season. They're on fumes right now. They could have very easily lost to Cincinnati last week. They weren't great against the Jets. The Tampa win looks less and less impressive because Tampa has now lost 4 in a row. They're on fumes, and they need a bye week. They've got these injuries. I think they're ripe for an upset. I'm saying take the 7.5 points. I think the Giants can win this game outright. If they don't win outright, I wouldn't be surprised. But this is going to be closer than people think. And the other thing before I shut up,
I think it'll be closer than people think. But I don't think you're looking at the matchups enough to make this proclamation. I really don't. With all due respect, I don't. This Giants team sucks, man. They suck.
Okay.
And I know you're marrying yourself to the close games, but I'd get away from that. A lot of that was Winston, too. He played pretty well for them the last 3 weeks. You got Jackson Dart coming back off injury. He does, for me, when I look at them on paper, I really, the Patriots, I think the only way the Patriots lose this game is if they lose it. And what I mean by that is turn the ball over, commit stupid penalties, which the penalties have been a problem this year, commit stupid penalties, things like that. I don't see them playing bad enough to lose this game, at least in my opinion. I know you obviously have a different opinion. I respectfully disagree.
Okay, last week against the Bengals, we thought the Bengals sucked, and that ended up being 26-20. Each quarterback had a pick six in that game, and we talked after the game in the post game that if Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase played in that game, the Bengals probably would win. Now, with those two guys, the Bengals are much better than the Giants. We get that. Without them, they're pretty much like the Giants. Their defense isn't good. They don't have much on offense, especially T. Higgins getting injured in the third quarter with a concussion. So I'm just looking this more at the Patriots, that they're on fumes right now. They're trying to get through these injuries, and it's a young team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. This is a new challenge for them. And also, I have a tendency to look at the betting lines. You know, me and Joe Murray are into this type of stuff. Our good friend over at 98.5, the Sports Hub. It's only 7.5. That makes absolutely no sense. The Patriots should be a 10-point favorite in this game. 10-2 hosting 2-10 should be a 10.5 point favorite. Why is it 7.5? It leads me to believe that the smart money knows
7.5 because, to your point, they've played some close games.
Right, and I think the smart money
and it reinforces how stupid Vegas is. But
I don't know. They build those big buildings for a reason with a lot of
Vegas has been pretty
money.
stupid for a long time. So
I wouldn't say so. I have to disagree with you on that one. They win most of the time, and they build big, exotic, beautiful buildings with everybody else's money.
Yes,
some of it mine.
Yeah. Well, hey, they sound like they're Democrats then.
Yes, very bright people.
Let's not go there.
No.
Bright and Democrats don't go in the same sentence, and I'm not even a Republican and a conservative. Anyway, nonetheless, let's stick to football and not politics. To your point, though, about them playing close games, when you look at the underlying numbers coming into this game, the Giants are 22nd in the NFL in total offense. They're averaging 22 points per game. Patriots are 7th in the NFL, 26.5, which is surprising that it's such a big gap in terms of team rankings when you're only talking about a 4.5 point swing. Point differential is where the difference is, though. Now, the Patriots are 4th in the NFL in point differential, plus 92. The Giants are 27th at minus 70, which goes back to what we were saying earlier, that their defense has really underachieved. And not only have they underachieved, they're also not really generating turnovers, which is also a problem. But again, you want to know why a team is 2-10 in the National Football League, you got to look at the underlying numbers. To me, point differential is an important number because, again, I think it tells you a lot about what the other team is doing offensively in particular, but also what they're doing defensively. That minus 70, that's a pretty big number. I mean, they're bottom third in the league in that category.
They're giving up 28 points per game. And as you said, spent a lot of money on that defensive line, and it hasn't produced. You look at Jameis Winston, who's played a couple games with the Giants. And we all love watching Jameis because he's so entertaining. I mean, if you're a really big fan of high-level quarterback play, you're not a Jameis Winston fan. But as a personality, he's fantastic. That guy's going to go into media and be a superstar without question because he's so authentic. In a given game, he could be as good as anyone. He can be as bad as anyone in that same game. I'll never forget last year against the Broncos on Monday night. He threw 4 touchdown passes, 500 yards, but also threw 2 pick sixes. That's just like incredible. Talk about trick or treat. But I think the Giants would have a better chance of winning if Jameis Winston started tomorrow night instead of Jackson Dart. I think that he would possibly come up with some big plays. His experience would help. But the Patriots are fortunate that they're going to face Jackson Dart instead of Jameis Winston. I don't know. I'm just making a guess out of that, but that's just my own opinion.
Yep. Just a couple of other underlying numbers to your point. Giants are -6 in turnover differential. That's 27th in the league. Patriots are at 0, which is 15th in the league. So they're not exactly killing it there. But the Patriots, here we are talking about how bad the Patriots have been, especially earlier in the year in terms of penalties and how undisciplined they've been at times. The Giants are even worse. They're 30th in the league in total penalties. They have 92 penalties on the season. So this is a football team that's 2-10 for a reason. And as I was saying to you earlier, I think when you look at the underlying numbers, I think the reality is, yes, I could see why you would think they could potentially come in here and pull off the upset. And they very well could. I don't disagree with you that the Patriots are on fumes right now. But that being said, I think the Patriots would have to play really poorly. I think Drake May would have to throw another early pick, possibly another pick six. I think the left side of the offensive line would really have to struggle, which they very well could. The Giants do have the type of pass rushes that they could put on that side and that they could generate pressure to take advantage of Adarian Lowe and Ben Brown. But all of that being said, not only would they have to play poorly on offense, specifically up front, I think they'd have to play poorly on defense. And again, when I look at this objectively from a matchup standpoint, the Giants have been in a lot of close games. I mean, their record in close games is 1-5. But again, I don't think if this Patriots defense comes to play, I don't think that Giants running game without Cam Skadaboo is as good. So I don't think that they're going to miss Milton Williams as much in this game as they would have. Chase Brown's a much better back than anybody the Giants have right now. He's a better back even if Skadaboo were healthy. So all that being said, when I look at the matchups, I just don't see enough here that's going to lead me. Do I think they could play them tough? Yes. Do I think it could be a close game? Sure. You might want to take them as a 7.5-point dog. Maybe the Patriots only win by a field goal. But all that being said, I don't think this Giants team has enough skill-wise to come in here on Monday Night Football and beat this Patriots team. Ken Matthias checks in. How much of a factor of Lowe and Brown being on May's blind side going to affect his play without Campbell and Wilson? Well, it could affect his play because, again, Brian Burns is on the other side. He's one of the premier pass rushers in the league, one of the best at his position. So, yes, it could be a problem. And Josh McDaniels, I was there on Friday when he met with the media. McDaniels talked about the importance of getting those guys up to speed and getting them acclimated and getting them used to what they're going to have to do. And he also stressed the fact that this Giants front presents a great challenge. So it's not exactly the best week to be rolling in your backups and getting them starter reps and getting them ready to start on game night. So, again, I think, yes, that this could be a factor. It's the game within the game, right? I always say football is two games. It's the individual part of the game, and then there's the team part of the game. That's what makes it the best sport in the world. But all that being said, sure, that defensive line could be an issue. We could see it early on with Lowe and Brown. They may struggle out of the gate, but as the game goes along, I do think McDaniels, Marrone, and the offensive staff will make the necessary changes to mitigate what Brian Burns can do to potentially wreck their game plan.
So you'd lose the left side of your offensive line, the two rookies who have played well, have been really, really solid, and you have hopes that that's going to be the left side of your offensive line for the next 6-7 years, what have you, which works well with Drake May. They're all young guys. They've connected. Obviously, Drake May's best friend on the team is Will Campbell. That's an awesome relationship. You do have the respect for Josh McDaniels that in one game, maybe two games, that he can do a good job protecting Drake May's blind side. I think that they're going to do what they have to do to make sure that Brian Burns doesn't wreck this game. He's done this for years, Josh McDaniels, under Bill Belichick. I mean, how many times do we see T.J. Watt or Aaron Donald not really be that effective? And they're both future Hall of Famers. So I think his mentality is going to be let someone else beat them, not Brian Burns. The key to this, though, is the running game, which has not been that effective of late. It's been okay, but it hasn't been as effective as I thought it would be. If they can get ahead, get the running game going, and get in those real optimum downs, I think they'll be fine on offense. My biggest concern with this game is this is the NFL. and again, this is a macro approach to this. This league is wacky. I mean, really, John, we look at it right now. I haven't a clue who's going to be in the Super Bowl. I do think the Rams are the best team, the most solid team. But let's look at the AFC. I mean, the Chiefs and Ravens look horrible. The Bills don't look all that good. Now Indianapolis is playing with a quarterback with a broken leg, apparently. Denver has a very suspect offense. I mean, it is just so wide open that I don't know what could happen from week to week. And I think that it's just primed for a really close game, possibly an upset. Again, it's Drake May's first appearance on Monday Night Football. It's also Jackson Dart's first appearance on Monday Night Football. So we'll see how they handle all of that. That's kind of the reasoning behind me thinking that the Giants can win this game. It's more not technical, but more, I don't know, mystical, if you want to call it that.
You are watching the Patriots Pulse Preview Show. I'm your host, John Serenitas. As always, I'm joined by my partner, John Sapichetti. We are previewing tomorrow night's game between the New England Patriots and the New York Giants. Giants coming to town with a 2-10 record. Patriots currently 10-2. They do have their bye week next week. So as we were saying earlier, it does come at the right time. And to a degree, I do think that the Patriots look like a tired football team. It's starting to show. And so, as I mentioned, the bye is coming at the right time. The other thing that's important to note about tomorrow night's game, it's another throwback game. So they'll be wearing the Pat the Patriot uniforms, which is awesome. It'll bring you back to the 1980s where you would have had that random Monday night game against the Jets or the Giants at the old stadium. So it's going to be awesome to see that. When you go to another level here and you break down the matchups even more, and we like to do that here on the Patriots Pulse Preview Show, when we compare the offense and the defense, the Giants could potentially give the Patriots some problems vertically. And look, the Patriots, especially at the beginning of the year, had a real hard time defending the deep pass. They've done a much better job with it since the midway point in the season. But even then, the Giants, when you look at deep passing, they're fifth in the NFL at connecting on vertical passes. Patriots are 18th at defending vertical passes. When it comes to versus pressure and beating pressure, the Giants are 9th in the league in passing against pressure. Patriots 22nd. So when they decide to bring the extra rusher, when they bring 5 or even 6 at times, being 22nd means typically you get beat. This is why they've relied so much on Kayvon Chaisson and Harold Landry this year, because they haven't wanted to blitz. And when they do blitz, they don't typically get there as much as they would like to get there. So there are some other advantages that the Giants have. Intermediate passing, the Giants are 16th, meaning pass plays inside the hashes, inside the numbers. Patriots are 19th at defending those passes. So, again, the intermediate passing game is going to be there for the Giants, assuming they can protect. One thing I will say, I do think for the Patriots defensive line, specifically Chaisson and Landry, this is a pretty good matchup for them. I think that they could potentially get some consistent pressure on Jackson Dart. And let's talk about Jackson Dart, because when you look at his numbers, he's been impressive at times so far. He's had some concussion issues, missed the last couple of weeks with concussions. He does return tomorrow night. Giants have been running him a lot. I said this the other day when I was up there. I really don't think you're going to see them do that under Mike Kafka. I think they're going to try to refrain from running him as much as Brian Daboll did. Look, he's a young player who could potentially be a franchise quarterback. If he's already having concussion issues, that's not good. So I think moving forward here, last 5 weeks of the season, I think you're going to see the Giants run him less starting tomorrow night.
Yeah, same thing with Drake May. I think he's had concussion issues last year. He's had some this year. They haven't been necessarily reported, but twice he got hit in the helmet on what looked like illegal contact, and the very next play he threw an interception. So it may have had something to do with that. He was hit in the head. Jackson Dart's had those concussion issues. You got to run into him at a famous restaurant in New York or in New Jersey over the summer, so that must have been interesting. You recognized him, which you are the only man that would recognize rookie quarterbacks that maybe no one knew about, but you said hi to him and said he seemed like a pretty nice kid.
You just said hi back. Based on that, he was amazing.
A great guy. Absolutely. And did he pick up the tab? I don't know.
Hey, no, he didn't. I wish he did.
Right.
It was an expensive night.
Yeah.
Got my throwback mug here, and I'm drinking my tea that went cold because I've had to sit here and listen to your bullshit that they're going to lose tomorrow night.
Well, wait a second. If I'm spewing bullshit, you should have plenty of time to drink your tea. You know, that's like I go into Cumberland Farms and I drink decaf. I go in at like 5 o'clock looking for iced decaf or hot decaf. And the attendant says, we don't make decaf after 3 o'clock. I go, that's the idea of making decaf, is to make it after 3 o'clock when people want coffee that's decaffeinated.
You would think, but Starbucks isn't even selling decaf products anymore. It's ridiculous to me. This country lives on caffeine. I mean, honestly, people might as well start doing cocaine. It's ridiculous. People need that rush constantly. It's like, what about us, the decaf crowd? I don't want caffeine. I don't need the rush. Why can't I have a product that satisfies my needs? It's ridiculous. That's why you got to go to Dunks. I know Dunks has slipped through the years, but they still get it. You got to go there.
McDonald's is an option as well. So those are some good options.
But I don't. Do they do decaf though?
Some of them do. Some of them don't. I just don't understand it. It's like it's not that difficult.
Bias. I have a real problem with this decaf bias.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Brother John, and we don't agree on much, but I agree with you on that one. As far as Jackson Dart, who I finally got his name right this week as opposed to last week where I was calling him Jackson Brown.
Jackson Brown?
Yeah, Jackson Brown or whatever. I don't even know what I was talking
about
last week. Yeah, absolutely. So I look at him, and we're both pretty picky on quarterbacks, right? I mean, I'm picky, you're picky. What impresses you with Jackson Dart, and what makes you say, let's see a little more?
I like the arm talent. Outside of that, I don't like much else about his game. I think he's athletic, but I think he plays reckless, specifically out of the pocket. It was a problem for him at USC. It was a problem for him at Ole Miss. You're seeing it now. He's got to learn how to play the position. He's got to learn how to protect himself in the pocket, but more importantly, he's got to learn to protect himself outside of the pocket. He hasn't figured it out. Look, I think in today's NFL, you can get by with a 6'2", 6'2.5" guy that can throw the football like he can. But I think he's got a long way to go. And if I were a Giants fan, and thank goodness I'm not, if I were a Giants fan, I wouldn't attach my franchise quarterback wagon to him quite yet. I'm not sure he's a franchise quarterback yet. That TBD, to be determined. I think we have to let's see what we see out of him the rest of this season. Let's see how he plays. And more importantly, let's see what he looks like in year 2 under a new coaching staff, because that's really going to be the determining factor as to whether or not he's a franchise quarterback. And this is strictly my opinion. I have no inside information. I'm not so sure people in that building believe he's a franchise quarterback. I think he's made franchise quarterback type plays at various points this season. I think he gives that fan base hope, but I think it's way too early to label him that, because look, he went 25th overall. Giants had to trade back into the first round to draft him. Pretty good chance he would have fallen out of the first round if the Giants didn't take him where they did. Obviously, Dayball liked him, but I think at the end of the day, he's nowhere near what we saw last year with Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams. He's not that guy. Those guys were surefire guys. Same thing with the 2020 class. Outside of Tua, you kind of knew Herbert and Burrow were going to be real deal franchise-type quarterbacks. 18, I felt that with Josh Allen. People thought that with Sam Darnold potentially if he ended up in anywhere else but the Jets, which unfortunately he didn't for him. But he doesn't profile as that kind of guy. And so I think we're going to need more time to decide whether or not this guy has a look of a franchise quarterback.
The part he has that I don't like, he's kind of like the fake Hardo guy, which I kind of attached to Baker Mayfield.
Spoken like a true New Englander.
Well, no, not because I'm a anti-Giants but there's a lot of Hardos in New England. I live here.
First of all, you're north of Boston, so you live amongst the fake Hardos.
Oh, absolutely. The mass holes are in surplus up here. But Baker Mayfield's one of those guys. It's, go to baseball. I wasn't a big fan of Mike Greenwell, may he rest in peace, or Trot Nixon, or Dustin Pedroia. But those guys are just over the top. Okay, we get it. Your uniform's dirty. Arr, I'm so intense. That's Baker Mayfield. He's diving. He's got the eye black. He looks ridiculous.
Well, why does he look ridiculous? So you sit here week after week and jock and glaze Josh Allen, and he does stupid things.
We'll get to him in a minute.
I don't see you calling him out.
He's the real deal, though. I mean, he's
the real deal. They're 7-5, and if they lose today, they're 7-6. Or they're 7-4.
They're 7-4 right now. If they lose to Pittsburgh,
right. So they're going to lose to Pittsburgh today. They'll be 7-5 because they're front running frauds. But go ahead.
No, I need them to beat Pittsburgh so my Bengals can end up capturing the
My
AFC
Bengals, right.
North.
You've been a
Yes.
Bengals fan all of 2 minutes.
No, since 2000 and 2000. So I think when you look at all of that, though, as far as
That's bullshit. I call bullshit on that. I've known you 15
no.
years. There's no way you never talked about the Bengals until last year.
No, a few years before. I always liked the quarterback.
But what are you going to tell me next? You were a Corey Dillon guy. You were a big Bruce Oslet fan back in
Boomer
the day.
Esiason, Anthony Munoz.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I bleed
big
black
John
and orange.
Guy.
John Kidna. Well, the greatest coach in the history of the sport founded the franchise, Paul Brown. The only problem is his 91-year-old.
I'm not going
there.
I'm not going there. You know, Paul Brown's not the greatest coach of all
yes,
time.
He
I'm
is.
not going there.
Yes, he is.
No, he is not.
He's
not even in the top
Lombardi.
5. But go ahead.
Okay, we'll have another podcast for that one.
Yes.
No, but I'll be rooting for Buffalo today to beat Pittsburgh so that they'll be 6-6 with the Ravens, and the Bengals will be 4-8, and he's going to run the table, Burrow, and win MVP despite playing 8 games. That's what a perfect scenario.
It's because you have money on that.
I got a lot of money on it, and I'll go to the Supreme Court to fight that battle. So as far as like Baker Mayfield, those guys, they look like they should be in a TV movie or a film playing a quarterback. It's like a little too much. And I think Jackson Dart has a little bit of that stuff in him, with the eye black and, he's kind of a little bit over the top.
It's football, man. I mean, we're not talking about baseball guys wear eye black and they stand around doing nothing half the time.
I like cool. And that's why, my guy is the coolest.
Anyway,
but Tom
Jackson
Brady was
Dart,
that way.
Can he be a franchise quarterback or not? Enough with you and your quarterback theory.
Okay. I don't think so. Because I just don't like all of that other stuff. There's a lot of pressure to be the New York Giants quarterback, right? I mean, there's a lot of pressure to be anything in New York, quarterback of the Giants, quarterback of the Jets, and the Jets. The best quarterback the Jets have had in the last 50 years, statistically, was Aaron Rodgers last year, and that was probably his worst season ever. That's how bad their quarterback situation has been. I never was a huge Eli Manning fan. I know he won 2 Super Bowls, but right place, right time. I don't think he can be a franchise quarterback. No, I think his decision-making is still poor. I don't know how he commands the huddle, how he is at the line of scrimmage. Now, he can improve on that. He's a young guy. We have to see who his next coach is. But I still am skeptical about him. I don't throw that franchise tag on quarterbacks as quickly as others do. I put it on Drake May, but we're going to still have to see year 3 with Drake May. Because, again, Jaden Daniels is a rookie, looked like a franchise quarterback, has had injuries this year. C.J. Stroud looked like a franchise quarterback in 2023. He's regressed each year. I have higher hopes for Drake May. I, quite frankly, think he's a better passer than those two guys. I think he's has a better talent than Jaden Daniels and C.J. Stroud. I think that Drake May is going to be a franchise quarterback if he isn't already. And I sent you some statistics. His play has slipped a little bit the last 3 weeks. His 3 worst games of the season, his quarterback ratings were in the 80s, which aren't bad. Those 3 games he had, his 3 worst games, his combined passer rating was 85.7. Josh Allen, who I love, his 3 worst games this year, his average passer rating in those 3 games, 71.4. My issue with Josh Allen has always been low floor sometimes. There's times I watch him play and say, does he know how to play quarterback? Same thing with Lamar Jackson. With Drake May, even when he's a little bit off, he's still pretty good. He hasn't thrown more than 1 interception in any game this year. He's taking care of the football. He's not thrown under 200 yards in any game or over 300 yards in any game, and yet he leads the league in passing yards. I think he is a franchise quarterback, and I think the most impressive thing about him, when he's not perfect or not good, he still keeps you in the game, doesn't make mistakes, and doesn't look foolish out there. Josh Allen, as great as he is, Lamar Jackson, as great as he is, they sometimes look like they never played the position before, and that's kudos to Drake May.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of it is, too, those guys rely so much on their legs and running around and extending plays. And I think that that's a big reason why they can be very erratic at times and can be inconsistent. And admittedly, I don't think any of us saw either one of them being as bad as they've been at times this year. Because, again, if you go back the last 5 years, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, that's pretty much been locked in as your top 5 quarterbacks in the league, specifically the last couple of years anyway. I mean, Aaron Rodgers certainly was in that conversation not that long ago. But, yeah, there's some regression there on their part. And, look, you can look at a guy like Josh Allen and say, okay, does he have the supporting cast? Does he have enough around him other than James Cook and the 2 tight ends? And I think that that's debatable. Lamar Jackson is unexplainable to me. I don't get it. I mean, I know he was hurt earlier this year. He was awful the other night. So It's interesting to me. It's interesting. Burrow, you kind of have to leave out of this conversation because he was hurt. He's always hurt. Justin Herbert can be a little inconsistent at times. He doesn't always. You've talked about his playoff performances. He hasn't been good in the playoffs, quite frankly, and he isn't always on point. So it's a tough group to read. And I think, again, it's hard for us here in New England because we were so used to Tom Brady and great quarterback play for 20 years. We watched Brady, we watched Manning, we watched Rodgers in his prime. I mean, those guys rarely had a bad game. If their team lost, it's because they turned the ball over, they gave up big plays, they didn't play well collectively. It wasn't necessarily always because of Brady, Manning, Rodgers. Whereas with this group of franchise quarterbacks, they're playing a hand in their team's misfortune and their team's losing games. And I think that if you're a fan of any of those teams, you have to be concerned. You hope Drake May can work past that in year 3, year 4, and beyond if he's going to be the franchise quarterback we think he can be.
Here's the issue I have when people bring up Brady or Rodgers or Manning. And Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback ever. There's no question about it. But this argument also comes up with Michael Jordan, who you think is the greatest basketball player ever. I think he, along with LeBron James, are in the discussion. We're not going to go there. They had bad playoff games. Tom Brady has had 4 playoff games in which he threw 3 or more interceptions and still found a way to win. I mean, was he the reason they won those games? Probably not. I mean, his defense covered for him, his running game covered for him. He threw 3 interceptions in a playoff win against the Chargers in 06, in 07, in 2011 in the AFC Championship game, 3 interceptions against the Ravens, and in 2020 with the Buccaneers, 3 interceptions against the Packers. He won all those games. He also had 6 regular season games in which he threw 4 more interceptions. So I know he's the greatest quarterback ever. No one's disputing that. They all have bad games, especially when they're on their ass. When they're getting hit and they're on their ass, they all suck.
But that's
again,
cumulative. These guys have been bad for a chunk of this season. What you're saying about Brady is cumulative over the course of his career.
Well, yeah, cumulative over the course of his career. I don't think he was particularly great in 2012. 2013. He got reignited in 2014. I think partly when they drafted Garoppolo, it lit a fire under him. And then look what he did the final 8 years of his career. It was ridiculous. He's the greatest quarterback ever. I don't even think there's a discussion, but he had bad games too. And some of them were in the playoffs.
Everybody's going to have bad games.
You know what? A ton of sucky games in the playoffs. Peyton Manning, when they won the Super Bowl that year, had 1 decent half, and that was against the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. Rodgers has underperformed in the NFC Championship games for sure, and these are all-time greats without question. I mean, there's like one Bart Starr who never played a bad playoff game, but again, he was throwing 15 passes a game, so how do you compare that to a guy? You
can't put him in that conversation.
No, he was there to go along with what they had, and he had one of the 2 greatest coaches in NFL history coaching him, in Vince Lombardi.
Yep. Ken Mattias checks back in. If I'm the Patriots, I'm not even going there. I'm not taking the bait with the stupid Paul Brown conversation. If I'm the Patriots, I wouldn't take this game as a cakewalk. Also, the Giants aren't the best at the moment. Patriots should win this game by at least 2 TDs. So Ken is saying that the Patriots fans, or the Patriots, he says, if I'm the Patriots, I wouldn't take this game as a cakewalk. But then he predicts it's going to be a cakewalk. All right, Ken, make it make sense.
Ken doing his best Glenn Ordway impression.
Right. If I'm the Patriots, I don't take this as a cakewalk, but it's going to be a cakewalk.
Right. Be a man of conviction like me.
Right. Anyway, you and conviction don't exactly go hand in hand. It's like vanilla ice cream and mustard. Anyway.
Yuck. Oh, man.
That's gross. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth, like you thinking LeBron's the greatest player of all time. Anyway.
I'm not taking that bait either.
3 keys to the game for the Patriots in this one. What do you think are 3 things they need to do in order to win this football game?
Run the football, because that will set up play action. And the Giants, in theory, can have a good pass rush. And again, with the new defensive coordinator, maybe there's a few bells and whistles that they're going to bring out for this game. So run the football effectively, keep your quarterback ahead of the sticks. That's imperative every game. I look, when we give 3 keys to the game, they're generally ones that we all know, and turnovers, penalties, whatever. I would love to see them get a lead. I mean, they beat the Bengals last week. They were down 10-0 before they knew what the hell was going on. And I also think, as far as Jackson Dart, he does have the ability to make electric plays. If you can limit him on those, then I think you can really keep that offense at bay, because they don't look like a 15-play, 75-yard drive where Jackson Dart is commanding the offense and just bleeding you to death. He's not at that level yet. Maybe he'll never be at that. So make sure you keep away from Jackson Dart making a spectacular play or two, which can kind of get that team ignited.
To your point about them running the football and it being a big part of the game plan this weekend, I think it will be because of two reasons. One, Ben Brown, Vidarian Lowe starting on the left side. You want to give those guys a chance to get acclimated to starting again and get their feet under them. But two, the Giants are arguably the worst run defense in the league. They are hideous at stopping the run. The only category, when you look at next-gen stats, the only category where they're not 25th or less in the league against the run is actually quarterback scrambles. They're 19th in the league at defending quarterback scrambles. Outside of that, their best ranking against the run is actually teams that run when they stack the box, meaning they play 8 or more men in the box. They're 27th in the league in stopping the run when they're in an 8-man front. Like, that's piss poor by definition. Every other category that you look at, and again, we're looking at next-gen stats. Every other category that you look at, John, they are 32nd in the league against the run. In every other category except that one. They are by far the worst run defense in the league. Patriots, realistically speaking, John, in this game, I would run the football 35 times in this game if I'm the Patriots. And people that know me as a coach know how much I love to run the football. I would run the ball 35 times in this game. They are, I don't know if I want to say they're historically bad. I know we were throwing that around last week against Cincinnati, and they've played much better since. But when it comes to defending the run, this Giants team is real bad. They suck.
They really do. And I would think with new left side of the offensive line, in theory, is it easier to coach up and do great things in the run game as opposed to the passing game? It could get complicated in the passing game because you do have Brian Burns on the field and he's an elite player. Would it be easy for those two backups to come in and be better at run blocking than pass blocking, or am I reading too much into it?
No, I mean, look, the O-line coach in me will tell you the same thing every time. You run the football to get your offensive line lathered up, to get them going. So, and when you're playing a team that you could see on film is not very good at stopping the run, then you know you're going to make that a point of emphasis even more during the week as you prepare for that opponent. So, look, I would run the football regardless. The weather's starting to get colder. You want to establish that running game. You want to establish that physical presence. This time of year, it matters. I think, aside from the fact that the New York Giants are abysmal at stopping the run, it should be a point of emphasis because of the current situation with the offensive line. And you really want to get your offensive line going now because this is a time of year where you're going to lean on your run game.
Oh, without question. Yeah, the inclement weather, you're going to, in theory, play better defenses when you get to the postseason. I mean, you've played arguably, you'll be playing arguably the two worst defenses in the league the last 2 weeks, and you only put up 19 points on offense against the Bengals. You did have the pick six, which was a huge play by the Patriots defense. You also threw a pick six in that game. Yeah, running the football, I'm a big supporter of that. I love quarterbacks, but I think the quarterbacks are so much more effective on 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2. It opens up the play call sheet. There's just a lot more you can do on offense when you're in those situations. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's a mindset. The offensive linemen love run blocking, right? I mean, it's when they can be aggressive and physical, more so than pass blocking when
Gets
you're trying
engaged.
Exactly. I mean, what would you rather do? Just go at it, mano a mano against the defensive lineman, or would you like to sit there and try to stop Myles Garrett from coming and killing a quarterback? I think it's an easy answer.
Yeah. All right, final prediction here before we wrap up the show. You said at the beginning you thought that this was a game that the Giants could win. Have I done anything over the course of the last 45 minutes to convince you otherwise? Of course I haven't. You are one stubborn MFer.
Oh, yeah, I sure am. You know that. 24-20 Giants. And look, we started doing this Patriots Pulse preview show on September 28th. The Patriots are 9-0 since we started doing the show, and I think we've nailed every game. I predicted the win in Buffalo. I predicted the win in Tampa. We both said Atlanta was going to be a dogfight because that's what the Falcons do. This game I do not feel good about because they're on fumes. I think it could be an interesting matchup with the injuries as well. It's a Monday night game, circus-like atmosphere. Look, the Patriots probably will find a way to win. They're obviously the better team. I would take the 7.5 points. I think the Giants are going to win 24-20.
Yeah, I'm obviously across the street from you on that take. I think, in my view, look, this Giants team can make it a game. I think it will be a game. And if you're tempted, you should put the money on them as a dog at 7.5 if that's your thing. But I don't see the Patriots losing this game, not unless they turn the ball over 3 or more times. Drake May plays poorly, and they're undisciplined. I think that's the only way the Giants can win this game. Do I think it will be a game? Yes, I think the Giants can keep it close, but I think ultimately this is the kind of game the Patriots win 28-21. I just don't think that the Giants have enough offensively to win this game. But more importantly, I think if the Patriots can set that tone with their offensive line early, establish that running game, get Henderson and Stevenson going, and really use that to set a pace, the Giants aren't going to be able to keep up. And I think ultimately that the Patriots will win this game. I do agree with you. I do think they need this bye desperately. They are running on fumes. But I think that Mike Vrabel will be able to coax just enough out of him to get the win. And before we go, Ken Matthias checks in. Are you kidding me? 24-20, John. Giants, no way. That is a form of trash talking by Ken Matthias. He is trash talking you, Sapichetti. Do you care to respond to him calling you out?
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Patriots to beat the Bills. I picked the Jets to beat the Bengals. I picked the Bengals to beat the Ravens the other night. I'm pretty good at picking upsets. The only thing I'm a little concerned of is
that's just stupid ass logic, though. I don't understand why you would even say that. But go ahead.
okay. Well, I love stupid ass logic. That's why I'm me and you're you. I guess I'm not logical. That's for sure. My only concern is more.
Sometimes I have to restrain myself from turning into a football coach on
yeah, I
show.
know exactly. You're going to tell me to run laps next? I mean, I'm only like 12 years older than you. So my only concern is, as I look at the screen, I'm starting to look a little like Kim Jong-un at this point, because this whole setting I have here with a lot of headroom, I got the shaved head, I'm wearing sunglasses, I've obviously put weight on, I've got like the drapes behind me. I got to get rid of this Kim Jong-un look, because I
don't know where you're getting Kim Jong-un. I think you're giving off Grimace vibes from McDonald's. I don't see Kim Jong-un. I mean, does he wear the Ray-Bans? I don't know. You hardly ever see the guy. I don't even know what the hell he looks like.
Well, next time, you know what I'll do next week? I'll wear a Jordan shirt. Then you'll know I'm Kim Jong-un, because he loves Michael Jordan. But I got to get my look a little bit better, because I look a little off.
Well, the problem is I don't think there's not much you can do about the fact that your head is shaped like a thumbtack, so that's not going to help. All right. All right, well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Patriots Pulse preview show. For John Thumbtack Sapichetti, I'm John Saraditas. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. We will be back with you in 2 weeks when the Patriots return from their bye. Until then, be happy, be safe, and enjoy the football. We're coming